Welcome. If you've ever looked at a huge company and wondered how in the world they manage everything inside of SAP, well, you've come to the right place. Today, we're digging into organizational units. Seriously, this is the foundational blueprint that makes everything possible, from buying a tiny screw to selling a massive jet engine. I want you to think of yourself as an architect for a minute, but instead of using bricks and steel, your building materials are all digital structures. That's exactly what we're going to do right now. We are going to build an entire company's framework from the ground up, right inside SAP. And getting this right is absolutely critical, because this digital blueprint, it dictates how every single dollar, every product, every transaction flows through the entire business. So here's our game plan. First, we're going to sketch out the master blueprint. Then we'll pour that all-important financial foundation. After that, we'll build the purchasing framework, we'll figure out the key roles needed to run it, and finally, we'll touch on some special, more advanced structures for those complex situations. So let's get started with the skeleton of the whole operation. You see, before you can even think about cutting a purchase order or paying an invoice, the system basically stops and asks you, who are you and how are you structured? This is not just some formality. This is the digital skeleton that gives your entire company its shape and honestly allows it to even function inside of SAP. Every solid building needs a rock-solid foundation, right? Well, in the world of SAP, that foundation is always financial. These core units we're about to define are the bedrock. Everything else, all your logistics, all your purchasing, gets built right on top of this. And more importantly, this is how everything is tracked for legal and accounting purposes. And the absolute cornerstone of this whole thing is the company code. For all intents and purposes, you can just think of this as the company. It's your legally independent entity. It's defined by things like its home country, its currency, and its official chart of accounts. That's kind of the rule book for how you report to the government. This is your official, public-facing financial identity. And for those of you who are actually in the system, turning the knobs, this is how you make it real. You'd go into SAP's configuration menu, what we call the IMG, and you just follow this path right here. This is literally the spot where that legal company we just talked about is born inside the system. Okay, so if the company code is for looking outward, for legal reporting, the controlling area is all about looking inward. This is for internal management. It's how you track costs, manage department budgets, and figure out if you're actually profitable. And what's really cool is that a single controlling area can actually oversee multiple company codes, giving you this amazing unified view of costs across different parts of your business. And this step right here, this is where the magic happens. Honestly, the system isn't fully alive until you connect these two worlds, the external legal accounting of the company code with the internal management accounting of the controlling area. This simple assignment creates that vital link, connecting how you report to the outside world with how you actually run your business on the inside. All right, our financial foundation is poured and set. It's solid. Now, let's start building the framework that's going to control how the company actually buys things. We're moving over to the procurement side of the house now, and we're going to define the structures that manage all the purchasing power and processes. At the very heart of this new framework is the purchasing organization. The easiest way to think about this is as your main purchasing department. It's the group that's responsible for all the procurement activities, everything from finding suppliers for materials to negotiating prices and payment terms. And believe me, it does a lot more than just place orders. A purchasing organization is its own little world. It maintains its own data, like special pricing from suppliers. It evaluates its own vendors. It's really the strategic brain of your entire procurement operation and the main filter you'll use when you run purchasing reports. Now pay close attention to how these pieces connect, because the rules here are simple but incredibly powerful. You can see in that first row, a purchasing org can only belong to one company code. That keeps the accounting squeaky clean. But then look at the second row. That same purchasing org can buy for many different plants. This is where you get all that incredible flexibility and efficiency. Okay, this next part is a super common point of confusion for people new to SAP, so let's just clear it up right now. It is so important to understand the difference between the purchasing department as an entity and the actual people who work there and do the buying. SAP makes a very clear distinction. And here it is, side by side. The purchasing organization on the left, that's the formal structure, the what. It's the department itself. But the purchasing group on the right, that's the who. It represents a specific buyer or maybe a small team of buyers who are the day-to-day contacts for your suppliers. And this quote right here, this reveals the secret power of the purchasing group. Think of it like a free agent. Unlike almost everything else we've talked about, it isn't hardwired to a single department or location. What does that mean? It means a buyer in a purchasing group can buy stuff for anyone, anywhere in the company. This design gives you maximum operational flexibility. It's a game changer. Okay, now let's get into some of the more advanced topics. We're going to look at a couple of special purpose purchasing organizations. Now, you won't always use these, but for certain automated and super efficient procurement scenarios, they are absolutely essential. First up is the reference purchasing organization. The best way to think of this is like having a central corporate team that negotiates massive company-wide contracts and gets amazing pricing. Then all the local purchasing departments can just refer to these master agreements when they place their own orders. So you get the power of centralized negotiation with the flexibility of decentralized buying. Pretty cool. Next, we have the standard purchasing organization. This is basically the system's go-to, its default setting. When an automated process kicks off, like, say, automatically reordering low stock, and the system doesn't have a specific supplier assigned, it needs a fallback. It needs to know who to assign the paperwork to. The standard purchasing organization is that safety net. And this right here shows you exactly why that safety net is so important. Think about all these highly automated processes, like consignment, where you only pay for stock after you use it, or automatic stock transfers between plants. For all of these, the system needs a default purchasing department to handle the background transactions. Without a standard purchasing org assigned, these powerful, efficiency-boosting processes, well, they just won't work. And this is it. The final connection in our digital building. By following this path and linking that standard purchasing org to a plant, you officially flip the switch. This one simple assignment is the final step that enables all those awesome automated scenarios we just talked about. And with that, our enterprise structure is complete. So there you have it. In just a few minutes, we've basically built a digital enterprise from the ground up. We laid that financial bedrock, and then we built the entire purchasing framework right on top of it. So I'll leave you with one final question to think about. Based on everything we just saw, what do you think is the single most critical link connecting the world of finance to the world of procurement? All right.